Unboxing about a $380 game from thegamecrafter.com. So I've already taken a peek just to see, and we've got the little giblets here, cubes for tracking locations, and then I got some little baggies to save your character, some stands for the enemy standees and the character standees, and then the meat and potatoes here is the class card. So each class, there's currently 6 classes in the demo, and each class has about 50 skill cards, and each class has access to 5 different weapons. Each class can use all the weapons, but each weapon gives the character a unique set. So unarmed weapon skills, sword, shotgun, warhammer, and you have your utility skills, and then you have your profession skills or your special high-powered skills. So I got the Lux, which is like the wizard or spellcaster, the astromancer, which is sort of like a necromancer sort of character, and then the Seraphim is like the paladin. The Scion is like the assassin. And the final version of the game, there'll be 8 weapon sets. I'm still adding the staff, which gives you healing skills, the rifle for more range, and then there'll be maces, so 2-handed for maces. And one interesting thing is you can combine, so the Singularity is a unique class. There's not really anything I can compare it to. It summons these swarms. I guess it's like a summoner class or a pet class. But what's interesting is you can combine, if a weapon is 2-handed, like Gauntlet, you can combine Gauntlet skills with Sword. So you combine Sword main hand with your Gauntlet offhand, and that would give you a kind of a custom weapon set. And a complete build is 14 cards. So you have 2 weapon sets. Each weapon set has 4 skill cards each, and you have 3 utility skills, and you have 3 profession skills for a total of 14 cards. Then the Titan is like the warrior. And there are 4 more classes that'll be in the full version of the game that I've almost got. So the Warden is another one. These are the enemies. So the enemies in this game are unique the way they activate. So you have these logic slides that you place over the top, and it reveals a specific set of actions depending on. So these 3 are for above 50% life, these 3 are for below 50% life, and then they all got a special action. And you can see the hit points per character count, for player count, and you can increase the difficulty by just increasing the player. So if you got 2 players but you want to play at a very hard difficulty, just use the hit point for 4 players. But you can see this modifies it with a +2 move, so that would be a 5 movement flight, or an 11 initiative, 5 movement flight, range of 5, and then that would immobilize. So there's about 33 enemies in the demo, and there's 60, I think there's 68 enemies in the full version, and some of them are bosses. Some of them have got like a ridiculous amount of life, like the House Inquisitor has 190, 360 for the Void. That's a boss. But you'll see later on why the enemies have to have so much life, because the game uses a 3 action point system. So you combine cards using your action points up to 3, and depending on combos and when players are working together, you can do 50 or 60 points of damage fairly easily. But I think one of the most unique aspects to the game, in my opinion, is so there are 288 modifiers, and these are gear cards, and there's going to be at least another 100 that I'll add to the full version of the game. So you have skill modifiers, you have armor, and you have weapons, and you have implants. So that's the 3 kind of, so you have mods, you have weapons, and you have armor and implants. And what makes the game so cool, in my opinion, is so each of your skills go in a sleeve like this, and then you modify those skills with these gear cards. So you combine the top. So this is the primary effect, and then this is the secondary effect. So all skills apply +1 vulnerability, and then you purchase the modifiers with fragments, and you purchase the skills with fragments, and I'll show you how you accumulate those as you progress through the game. But there are lots of these, and they come in 4 different qualities. So you have common, which are generally 10 fragments. You have artifact quality, which are 100 fragments, and you have prototype, which are 50 fragments, and then you have advanced, which are 20 fragments. And I'll show you how you acquire these. So these are the locations, and you scramble around the world by putting location cards. Let me ease this out of the way so I can show you. So you start with location 1, obviously. Where did it go? Where's location? There's location 1. It's spoilers looking at these, but anyway. And then when you get to a new location, like, so you start here, you put your little diddly-do right here to represent your party, and then you see the path. So you could either go to encounter C2, and encounters take place on these battle maps. So let's say we're going to go to C2. That would be C2. So, and then you complete the encounter. You got your little standees. And I made them about as small as I could and still be able to fit. And some of the maps, I don't want to give away too much, but it's you turn to the specific encounter when you get to the encounter here, and then let's say you get to this node, you'd put the next location card down like this, and then when you get through the hub to here, then you'd put location 4 down. I don't want to show you too many of them because you might want to keep some of this stuff a mystery. I don't want to spoil it, but that's how progression through the game works. When you get to the hub, you can heal. You can also teleport between hubs that you've already fully explored. And let's say we get to E3, the maintenance shaft. We're gonna, these are the other books. Gosh, it's so much work. I mean, it's 7 years, an unfathomable amount of work that I put into this. So this is the rules, more like a kind of a quick start guide. I've got a more comprehensive rule book, but so the event codex is, so let's say we're gonna get to E3, the maintenance shafts. We're gonna flip the event codex to E3, and then you'll read the description text, and then you'll make a decision, force the storage unit or investigate the cooling tunnels. And then there's a lot of these that have sub-locations. I'll show you this just because it's just to show you. So from here, there'd be a new location we'd place, and you'd start right here at the top and progress through the sub-location. And then you could get, when you got to the hub, you could of course teleport and heal. And these have sub encounters and sub events that you would have to deal with as you progress through the thing. And then I'll show you. So these are the results. But that's that. So the battle maps. This is there's also a big, probably my favorite part of this game is actually the PvP component. So, and I've got many of these maps, and they're big maps like this. You put them like this, and these books will be full. And they're also dales, which I don't have in this version, but when you get to certain locations, when you're exploring, you'll open up what are called dales, and they're multi-level dungeons that randomly spawn enemies that you have to deal with. I need to kind of tighten up the seams of these. But anyway, the PvP is control points. So what you do is you have to control these points for 3 rounds, and you have 4 players. And the first team that is able to control, so you control it for 3 rounds, you get 1 point. And you're trying to knock each other off the control points. And you can activate the laser cannon using 3 action points, and it'll blast everybody off the control point, all of these red right here. So it'll knock everybody off of that. So that's PvP, which is an exciting aspect to the game. And then, let me show you these. So I've got these are character cards, which are kind of botched, but this is how you track your life. And as you progress, you get more life. But the Lux starts out with 18 lifey doos, and then you put these on the little cubes. Actually, I changed them to white, and these bad boys are dry erase, so you can mark. It makes it much easier. I discovered that you can just mark off and then erase it to track, the different afflictions and the different buffs. And these will be like that. I hate it chopped off the bottom. That really sucks. But you can see that these have a pretty good description of the different classes, and this shows the difficulty to play them and their damage, power, defense, mobility, affliction, control, healing, and support. And then the way you track the enemies in this game is each enemy has its own card that goes, I'll show you, like this. Where's the darn enemy cards? Here we go. So, like enemy 1 card will be here, and enemy 2 card will be here. So you can see this is how you track this enemy and that enemy, and then you put these little fiddle diddles on top of it each round to reveal the specific behavior. So it makes it easier to put them on there, but it reveals the initiative and it reveals the behavior like I've already talked about. This is how you track it. But one of the crazy things is each character has their own damage tracker. So each round you use this to calculate how much damage. So might it makes it multiplicative. So direct damage, poison, burn, and bleed, those are the different types of damage. And you can use a dry erase marker to calculate your total damage, because like I said, it gets up into the 50s, 60s, sometimes even higher. So this is the only way I have discovered to be able to accurately calculate how much damage you do. And then there's a reference for the different icons on the back. That might be it. So the game is not overly complicated. Let's see. Oh, I forgot about this. So there are quests, and I don't want to show you. These are so like this one, for example, is the first one. And then on the back, you'll see what's cool about quests is they generally act as sort of a juicing, a risk reward for battles. So before any encounter, you may replace all copies of the first enemy listed on the encounter card with an equal number of psionic wraths. Psionic wraths ignore defense. If all psionic wraths are defeated, you get plus 10 fragments and draw 1 common skill mod. Add it to your codex, so you don't automatically learn these skills. You have to, or they don't automatically add it to your build. You have to learn them. But quests are also triggers, so they tell you where to go and sort of how to progress, and so you don't get lost and kind of wander around aimlessly on the different locations. It keeps you on track. But the demo has 20 quests, I think, maybe 22. And there's some pretty crazy quests. Let's see. I think that's it. Yep. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to be sending out prototype copies to YouTubers in a couple, probably about a month. I should have the final version. And yeah, if you're interested, let me know.